Hey, I want to show you a real life migration real quick. So this site here, I built on my server in a development mode. You can see it like that. And I want to move it, so the client bought the new domain, communitymuralsacramento.org, and I want to move it. So I tried, in full honesty, I tried 3 or 4 different plugins because I never have success with the same plugin twice, it seems. So I'm trying this new one called Backup Migration. This is my existing site. On this new server, I installed a blank WordPress, and I installed backup migration on both the old site and the new site. And when you go in here, after you install the plugin, I went in here and I hit backup migration and I created a backup. And it's going to tell me that it's pretty big. Create the backup. If your backup is more than a gig, you might need to, that's going to make things more challenging. So you might need to go in and make sure that you have files. So go look in your uploads and make sure no files are like massive. That's why you don't want to host video on your own site, because it makes backups and migrations nearly impossible. So while this is backing up, I've already done this successfully, so I'm going to kind of just mimic what's happening here. So I went in here and it asked me, so this gives you a URL. There it is right here. So I copy that URL and I pasted it in here. And then I hit restore now and I thought, oh, that'll be it. And it wasn't. So that will like download the file from here to this server. So I did that. And then you see right here, your saved backups. And then I hit restore this backup on this site, and it did some thinking, and then it worked. So then I went in and it did log me out, and then it logged me back in because it has the user settings from this site. So if you set up the new WordPress over here with a different username and password, it's going to use once it migrates, it's going to use the username and password from the source site. And then it worked. So I go in and I'm going to check and make sure that this URL stays the same. Because sometimes if you've hard-coded some links in your old site, by hard-coded I mean using like the URL and then the page name, those will take the users from the new site to the old site. So you want to kind of scroll through and make sure that all your links are working after you do a migration. You also want to make sure that your images are located on the new server. So I'm going to inspect this image, and I'm going to make sure that this source URL is at Community Mural Sacramento and not hogan.com, because that means it's linking the picture on this site from the old site. So you just want to kind of go through and make sure that everything is still as it should be, and that all your links are kind of working the way they're supposed to work, and that they're going to the right place. And that is it. That is the easiest way to migrate, is to find a plugin that does what you want it to do, and then to just click around. You might even search for a free link checker afterwards, and then dead link checker, and run it on your new site and see if there are any broken links. This check MYX. And that's a kind of a good practice, just to make sure that your old URL isn't popping up anywhere in here. That is something you want to make sure of. If this plugin doesn't work for you, check to see that there's no %20s or weird spaces or characters in your URL or your page names. That will mess up a migration. Make sure that your files are not huge. There are plugins you can use to reduce the size of your media library. And there are plenty of other plugins to try, and I'll create some links to those other plugins. Duplicator is a pretty standard one, but this one worked really well. So this was the backup migration